Well, this is Wally, and this is Wally's roadmap to success. Wally is a very smart dog, and he has great focus. He had a couple behavior problems that we worked on. One of them is being excited, jumping up when he's overexcited. Just like us, when we're overexcited, that's when we're in an unbalanced state of mind. That's when we're going to be more apt to make a mistake. So the video that we have above is a great illustration of how we can help a dog learn to be calm on his own. Now, if you watch the video, I'm not teaching him telling him what to do. I'm putting him in a creative situation or in a scenario that I've created where I control the elements, where the dog can discover the right thing. When it does the right thing, then I engage with it. When it does the wrong thing, I disengage with it. I call this light switch on, light switch off. The more that you engage with good timing, the more the dog starts to emulate the behaviors you want. The more you stop engaging with the dog when he does behaviors you don't want, the less the dog will engage in those. All right, now I also went through the importance of rules and structure. The family here is about to welcome their first child in a couple months, and fortunately, they called me before they had the baby. Usually people call me after the baby arrives and they're going crazy. So we want the dog to practice doing whatever these things are in the easiest capacity possible, and practicing before the baby comes is much easier than once the baby is already in the house. So some of the rules we went over, this would be breaking one of them, not being allowed on the furniture. It's going to be hard for one member of the family. Probably be hard for everybody. One member would be harder than others. And I'm not talking about you. And so basically, but when mom and the baby are up here, they're going to need some time to themselves. And if he is used to being on top of us all the time, he doesn't have any practice being separated. So one of the rules is the dog shouldn't be on the furniture. Usually I say 30 days or as long as the problem's still going on. In this situation, crash. I'm going to recommend that the guardians keep him off of the furniture until after the baby comes, and probably at least a month after the baby comes, and they might want to do it a little bit longer. Remember, you can always grant more privileges later, and the dog is loving them. It's harder to take away privileges, and taking the privileges away when the baby comes is a very difficult time. So I would get him to habit and practice doing that before the baby comes. Now, at the same time we do take away the furniture, I usually teach the dog to use a dog bed at the same time, which I went over with the guardians. If you forget how to do that, make sure you let me know, and I can share a video to show you how to do it. Now, we went over the importance of coming up with funny command words. Because we're going to have a child in the house, I'd like the guardians to get in the habit of giving the dog funny command expressions. When I want my dogs to do this position right here, I don't say lie down or down, I say crash. And my dog flops down, and most of my guests kind of laugh, and my dog wiggles and is so happy about themselves. Well, now we came up with a real easy way for the dog to feel good about itself by doing something that we want, and the dog will continue to emulate that particular behavior. So if I want my dog to go forward, I say charge, backwards is retreat, my dog bed is Venice. Come up with funny command words. Now, I also went up with, showed the guardians how to create directional commands. So I'd like them for a week to take one of these treats for every portal in the room, well, maybe even two, because you're going to go both directions. Tear the treat in half. If this is the bedroom, and this is the doorway, and this is the hallway, I touch the dog's nose with the treat, or if the dog's paying attention, I just throw it about 3 feet outside of the room. The dog goes around, gets it, licks it up, I say the word out. Remember, anytime you're using a treat, the dog should hear the command word immediately after the treat goes in the mouth. That activates their pleasure receptors, making them a little bit more apt to want to do that particular activity. So tear it, and then when the dog comes back, do it a second time. Then go to the next room. So maybe you go around the house going out of all the rooms, and then go around the house and go into all the rooms. But basically, we want to be able to have a vocabulary to be able to tell the dog to leave the room and have it happy and motivated to want to do that. Other rules we went over: you have to sit at a door before we let you out. Tell the dog to sit. Wait about 3 seconds. If it doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away, sit down, wait 1 minute, then go back and tell the dog again. If it doesn't sit that time, walk away for 2 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 8 minutes. Keep on doubling the length of time. And as soon as he sits, open that door like there's a remote control in his butt. There's a table right here, and this is kind of the living area. There's a area rug around the table. I would say when the humans are eating here, the dog's not allowed to be on the area rug. The rest of the time, it can be here. Same thing with the kitchen. Not be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Or if we're at the dining room table, maybe he's not allowed in that particular room. So again, practicing leaving the room beforehand is really helpful. The other thing we can also do is help the dog practice these things. So a lot of times what I do is when a dog doesn't know or fails or doesn't behave the way that I want, what I try to do is I try to recreate the situation. I remove a lot of the elements so it's in the easiest version possible. And then I help the dog practice the very first step of that behavior over and over again until that dog has that step down. Only then do I move to step 2. And then I do that for each individual step until the dog can do all of them comfortably. Then I string them all together, again, in the easiest capacity possible. Once I've done that, then I start adding back the other elements, the distractions, until we work our way back to the real world situation, and the dog now knows how to behave in that scenario. So one of the things we can do for here, if the dog's not allowed to be on this on the carpet when we're eating, before we bring out our actual food, microwave a piece of bacon. Bring it out here, cut it up, pretend like you're eating. If the dog tries to come in, we're going to use those escalating consequences, crash, to move the dog off of the carpet. And as soon as he sits or lies down and he stops challenging you, then you can put your bacon away, bring your actual burrito here and eat your actual meal. You help the dog practice and warm up. And now it has knows how you want to behave and is happy to do so. Most dogs want to please us. We usually just do a really crappy job of communicating what they can do to make us happy. Right? Yeah. Let me see. Other rules. I didn't go over this, but if we have an upstairs, downstairs, I usually ask the dog to wait and let the human go through the door first, or up the stairs first, or in the room first. Since we have we're going to have a baby, we have a nursery. Well, we'll have a nursery. We want to have him practice not going in there. So we want to have the little rocking chair that mom will hang out in, and have mom go in there and read a magazine, smoke some cigarettes. I'm just kidding. But do some things in there with the door wide open and the dog not allowed to come in here. Now, I just spent some time going over the leadership exercise and showing the guardians how to use the escalating consequences to disagree with unwanted behaviors and enforce invisible boundaries. But practicing that ahead of time will be really beneficial. Now, with the baby coming, if you go to doggoneproblems.com, there's a section called behavior column, I think is what it is in the navigation bar. I've been writing a column for the World Herald for the last 4 years on dog behavior advice. And I've written a couple articles on things you can do to welcome a baby into your home for the first time. I'll touch on a couple of them here, but you might want to just go to that section and read those articles. One of the things is we have a lot of creams and creams and lotions that we get for babies, butt paste and stuff for mom and all that. Well, those all have aromas, and that's very attractive and appealing to the dog. So what I like the mom to do is once we have those things, or she starts buying them, once a day, just grab lotion, put a little bit here, or wherever, and then every day I start smelling those associations without actually having the baby present. We can also, again, practice not going into the baby room. Putting some tempting things in there and helping that our practice when not going in there can also be really beneficial. Now, we can create a positive association for the baby through scent and introduce the dog to the baby before the baby even comes home. So usually babies are at the hospital for about 3 days after giving birth. So what I would have the dad do is grab a towel, and the nurses will be happy to give you one. Have them wipe down your baby, and then put it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't get cross-contaminated with other things. Bring it home. Offer your dog, and this is called a conditional emotional response, a version of it, what I'm going to do. So let's say that this is the baby towel, and I have a treat in this hand. So I let the dog smell the towel, and I give the treat, and I say baby name, whatever the name is. They haven't told me. I think they're probably keeping it on wraps, which is smart, because otherwise you're like George Costanza and you tell the dog, people you're going to name your child 7, somebody else steals it. So and then I would have another treat, and same thing. 7, or whatever the baby's name is. Do this with about 5 to 10 treats, 2 or 3 times a day for the 2 or 3 days when dad is home. And then after a while, now that we've introduced the smell of the baby in an easy capacity because the baby's not there, and we're creating a positive association, and we're training the dog that the baby's name is something positive. So we create a lot of positive associations just by spending a little bit of time. Now, we can also put that towel on the ground. I would do the conditional emotional response like I described, but also there might be times where I put it on the ground. Now at that point, the dog can go and sniff it, but it should treat that towel as if it is the baby. No picking it up or running around with it, no licking it, just sniffing it only. And if the dog kind of sniffs it, walks away, you could take a treat and drop a treat on it. You can come over and lick the treat off and gets a little bit more of aroma. I'm guessing just sticking it for the dog's nose, he's going to smell it, and then giving the treat will be sufficient, but it's another thing you can do. Let me see. His exercise is good, but I like to see him get a little bit more exercise, especially before the baby comes home. If he likes dog daycare, maybe try him out for half a day of daycare the day the baby comes home. So we wipe out his energy, and then mom and dad can really focus on welcoming the little one into their home, and we put the dog in a position to succeed. let me see, what else can we go over with you? Scent games would be a good thing for him. You can Google scent games. Basically, you can just have the dog in the next room, leave some treats around the room, and then have him come in and give him a command word like hunt or find or search. And then when he finds these treats, he's using his brain, which is a great way to help the dog burn off some excess energy. Also, look for ways to delay gratification. Once you can get him to sit at the door, then maybe have him sit at the door and wait for permission to go out the door that's open, or before you throw the ball for fetch, or whatever the case may be. Now they didn't mention separation anxiety, but he does follow mom around the house everywhere. And mom has already started doing this, but a great thing you do is, again, to put your dog in position to succeed, is help the dog start practicing being alone. So when the mom's getting up to go get a drink of water, stay. Shouldn't be on the couch, but stay, and then goes and gets a drink of water, comes back, and releases him. And the idea is to progressively elongate the duration of the mom being in the next room, out of the dog's line of sight. So now the dog has practiced being alone, so when mom is changing poopy diapers or bonding with the baby or whatever it is, he's comfortable because, again, we set him up for success by helping him practice that. Now, I also went over the importance of rewarding desired actions and behaviors. I am a positive reinforcement guy. I am a force-free guy when it comes to dogs. I'm trying to do it in general across the board. But basically, for petting with a purpose is, if I want to pet him, I'm going to ask him to do something before I pet him. I'm going to ask him to sit. If he's already sitting, ask him to lay down or come and sit over here. When he sits, I would demonstrate right now, but he's busy. But I like to pet a dog under its chin. When a dog feels good about itself, its nose is parallel to the ground or tilted upward. Patting a dog on top of the head often creates a down nose orientation, which is an insecure body mechanic. So especially when the dog's doing things we want to pet him under his chin. And because he likes to lick a lot, we can kind of prevent some of that licking just by using this posture. And then he feels good about the things that we're doing. Let me see. The other thing is, if I just want to pet, or if he demands attention. Right now the guardians are petting him so much I think he doesn't have to ask for it. But eventually, if they start restraining themselves a little bit, crash. He's going to start coming up and asking for attention. When he does, give him a counter order. Tell him to sit, and then you can pet him. Say the word sit or down or whatever the command word is for whatever position he is, and not good sit or not sit, just sit. Now, he responded to that. Dogs respond to baby talk, but if one person says sit and the other person says sit, now he has to learn two commands because those are different sounds to a dog. One of the things I went over was suggesting the guardians come up with a list of the command words and exclusively use those command words. Don't say come here, over here, here boy, dog's name, just say just come or whatever it is. And if we see somebody in the house is saying the wrong word, we say vocabulary and that person says come. Now, I have a watchword for petting with a purpose as well. I call that paycheck. Paycheck just means that I think you may have forgotten to pet with a purpose. So if somebody comes in the room, sees me petting the dog, and he's standing, they say paycheck. I stop petting, tell him to sit. When he sits, I pet him on his chin and say sit. Then I tell the person, I asked him to sit, you didn't see it when he came in. Now, after a while, the dog will start sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. When he does that, make sure we recognize that. I usually say testify, but the guardians come up with whatever word. Somebody says testify to me, I look at the dog, and whatever the dog is doing, I pet it and say crash. If he's standing, I assume he came, and I pet him and say come. If he's sitting, pet him and say sit. It's just an opportunity for us to reward the dog for desired action behavior, and the more we do that, the more the dog will offer that particular behavior. Let me see, there was something else I wanted to go over, and it's on the tip of my brain. We went over the importance of feeding him and the guardians eating something before they feed him. Because he likes to get on the furniture, I recommend X mats, which are things you can lay on the furniture that'll prevent the dog from getting into them or getting on top of them. Let me see, what else do we go over? Teaching him new tricks or commands. Those are great ways to boost a dog's self-esteem. He is a smart dog. And so one of the things I'd love to see the guardians do is to start teaching him a new trick or command one a week. So on Sunday, I'm going to teach you how to bang your dead. Make sure they're easy to achieve within 1 or 2 days. Don't do the really difficult ones. And then basically once the guardian teaches him bang your dead and he can do it, then all week long we practice bang your dead, bang your dead, bang your dead. Then the next week, if the other guardian's feeling up to it, she teaches a different command or trick. And then at the end of by the time the baby comes, now maybe the dog has an extra 6 or 8 different commands. It's a great way to redirect the dog's attention. We're going to boost his self-esteem and put him in a better position. Now we also, like I said, exercising him before people come over, before the baby comes. If we're going to have a lot of people over, take him half day of doggy daycare or things along those lines can really help. Now, I also went over passive training. Passive training is rewarding the dog for desired actions and behaviors that the dog offers on its own. So the dog comes to you, and you didn't ask, you didn't influence, you don't have a treat, pet the dog and just say, come. Every time it lays down, pet it and say down or crash or whatever your words are. You come up with funny command words. But the more that we do that and reward the dog for those desired actions and behavior, just like petting with a purpose, the dog will engage in those more and more often. Now we're using positive reinforcement to help build the dog's confidence up, and also to reinforce that, yes, although we will correct you, we will also reward you for doing the right things. We want to make sure we're even Steven on both of those. Now, I went over a leadership exercise. The guardian was a little bit worried about the dog getting into some of the baby toys that are going to be around the house. So I showed them how to claim things. You might want to teach him how to leave it. There's an exercise called a leave it exercise where you come up with a command that means leave it. And so I remembered what I forgot. So the leave it exercise would be something that would be helpful. We can also use the leadership exercise to claim things, but a leave it command is really beneficial. The dog starts going towards something you don't like, you say leave it, and they walk away. Now, one of the other things is if the dog is breaking a rule or boundary, the guardians might want to say bad cop, or Judge Dredd, or something that's kind of funny to alert, hey, the dog's doing something you don't want them to do. The more that we, like I said, the more we do these things, the easier it's going to be for us to get in a habit of doing those things. Remember, for the rules, be really militant about it for 30 days minimum, or as long as the problem's still going on. That'll help the humans develop the behavior as well as the dog. I went over the 4 escalating consequences to disagree with unwanted actions and behaviors. If the guardians forget how to do those, message me, and I'm happy to share those with you. I think, what else? Is there anything else I'm forgetting that you can think of? I'm probably forgetting a lot. I cover a lot in 3 hours. But that's going to probably be it for here. Yeah. All right, well, this is Wally. You get a treat for being such a good trooper. And this is Wally's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.